Major League Baseball All-Star Game is brought to you by Coors Light, proud partner of the John Wayne Cancer Institute and their search for a cure. By MasterCard, proud sponsor of Major League Baseball and fan of the great American pastime. By Registered.com, your first step on the web. And by the all-new Chevy Monte Carlo, the side you show the world is up to you.
Changes as we move to the bottom of the fourth. Jason Giambi made the last out, and he's coming out of the game. So too is Travis Fryman, replaced at third base by the Angels' Troy Glaus. Glaus will bat in Fryman's spot, which is the 8th spot on the order. Carlos Delgado replaces Giambi at first, but Delgado will hit 9th. And the new pitcher, Aaron Seeley from the Mariners, will occupy the 4th spot in the batting order. Jeff Kent leads it off in the last half of the fourth. 3-1 American League.
There's a great curveball that Seeley uses, especially against right-handed hitters. He has one of the best curveballs in baseball.
Kent grounded to first in his only at bat. That one's high, 2-1. Check swing foul. 2 balls and 2 strikes to the Giants' second baseman. The new American League pitcher, Aaron Seeley, is having a fine season for the Mariners, who have surprised a lot of people with a great start in the American League West, even after losing Ken Griffey Jr. Seeley is 11-3 after winning 19 and then 18 games the previous 2 seasons for Texas. Full count. Andres Galarraga will follow Kent, and then the Cardinals' Jim Edmonds. Check swing roller right side. Robbie Alomar scoops it up and throws him out as some lightning streaks through the sky overhead, causing some fans to shudder. We go to Jimmy Roberts, who will cause no one to shudder. Jimmy.
Thanks very much, Bob. And Alex Rodriguez joins us in the dugout. A spectator tonight, voted to start here. How difficult is it to be in a dugout for a game like this and not play at all?
Well, it's tough, but it's good to see the guys. You know, it's my 4th All-Star, and I'm just happy to be here as a representative of the American League. And more than anything, it's my way of thanking the fans for selecting me the starter.
Derek Jeter, your replacement as starters, having a heck of a game. A little scouting report. What do you see from the dugout?
Well, I'm very happy for Derek. This is the first time he gets an actual chance to start, and he's putting on a great show. He's a potential candidate for the MVP so far, so he's a great fan. I'm glad he gets an opportunity to play.
He is 3 for 3. Real quickly, your physical condition, perhaps a concussion, some problems with your knee. Will you play when the season resumes in San Diego?
I hope so. My head is still a little funny after that goofy slide over there in Seattle, but I thank the Lord that I have the opportunity to still be here, and my knee's a little better. Hopefully, if not San Diego, Jimmy, I'll put probably Monday in Phoenix.
Very good. Thanks so much for joining us. Good luck the second half of the season. Bob, back to you.
Jimmy, thanks very much. Andres Galarraga bounced a single up the middle. He's taken out for pinch runner Todd Helton from the Colorado Rockies, who will take over, no doubt, at first base. One last round of applause from the home fans for Galarraga, and now here's Edmonds. Ball 1 high and away. Edmonds had a single his first time up. 2-0. A pop wide of third. Troy Glaus makes the catch right at the railing.
And in the background, you could hear Jim Edwards saying, "Get out of here, get out of here." Nice play by Troy Glaus. He finds the rail first. He has to know where that railing is, and then he leans over. And he gets a little snow cone there. Edmonds disappointed that he doesn't get another swing.
And here's Jason Kendall, who struck out his first time. Bounces one toward Gloss. Foul ball.
Smart play by Gloss. He had no chance to throw Kendall out. So what he did, he jumped into foul territory, give the umpire a clean view. Now watch. He wants the umpire to see. Gives him a clean view that the ball is foul. He doesn't want to get his body between the umpire and the ball, so the umpire would make a bad call. He jumps out of the way, lets him see it.
Helton running for Galarraga at first with 2 out. Kendall starting for Mike Piazza. Mike Lieberthal of the Phillies is the backup, and Joe Girardi, a late addition as the third catcher from the Cubs. Broken back ground ball. Jeter charges, throws on the run, and gets him. 4 complete in Atlanta. The American League trying to make it 4 in a row and leading 3-1.
Jim Gray back at Turner Field in the All-Star game, and I'm here with the man of the evening, Braves first baseman Andres Galarraga. What a reception you received. What went through your mind?
Well, the first thing when I get into the home plate, even when I go into the line with my family, with my kids, Andrea, Catherine, Adriana, my eyes getting wet and all my body just spot. I mean, it's a really special moment for myself, for my family, also for all those people that believe in me to come back to play baseball. Thanks God, thanks the Virgin to hold me to stay healthy to be here in this game.
When last year you were diagnosed with the cancer in your back, what was your realistic hope? Was it simply to get healthy, or was it to return to baseball as well?
Always I've been thinking I want to come back to play baseball. That's what I love to do. I love this game so much. And always I say I want to be on the first day and opening day in the lineup. And thanks God, hold me to stay healthy.
Will anything top this moment for you?
Probably not the All-Star game in that situation, but to be in the lineup, to hold my team, and yes, and as soon as I start hitting the ball hard, as soon as I start hitting home run, I said, well, I have a chance to make it the All-Sar game, and thanks God I make it this thing.
Andres, congratulations to you, and everybody's thrilled that you're back at good health and out playing again.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, Bob, back upstairs to you.
All right, Jim, with the Big Cats Atlanta teammate Tom Glavine, the new pitcher. Carl Everett bounces out to the new second baseman, the Mets' Edgardo Alfonso. The Braves' Andrew Jones is in center field. Todd Helton, who ran for Galarraga, remains in the game at first base, and Mike Lieberthal of the Phillies is the new catcher. If you're scoring at home, stop. Here's Rodriguez. Single to right and line hard to center. Tom Glavine at age 34 continues to build Hall of Fame credentials. 2-time Cy Young Award winner, 4-time 20-game winner, and now a 7-time All-Star. He's 9-5 this year for the Braves. 2-0.
And Tom Glavine has been pitching the same as long as I've seen him pitch, and that is he tails the ball to the outside corner, changes speeds, and just keeps the hitters off balance. He's not a mystery to the hitters. It's just that it's too difficult for them to handle all the pitches that he throws.
And he falls behind 3-0. Swinging on the 3-0 pitch, Rodriguez lifts one to right. But Sammy Sosa puts it away for out number 2. The U.S. Olympic track and field trials begin on Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern and Pacific here on NBC. 100-meter semifinals and finals. Want to see Marion Jones? You want to see Maurice Green? You want to see them blaze? Saturday night on NBC.
Well, most people have said Marion Jones was going to win 100, but Ingram Miller says she has something for her.
Joe, you're all over it. Can we book you a flight to Sydney? Two out, nobody on. And a ball and a strike to Jermaine Dye, who's 0 for 1 with a walk. Bobby Cox said he knew Jermaine Dye would one day be an all-star caliber player, even before they traded him away to Kansas City. This is his first All-Star appearance at age 26. Glavine's ahead of him 1-2.
Bob, the Braves got Michael Tucker back for him, and Michael Tucker helped them, get to the World Series. So it was still a pretty good trade, although Jermaine Dye is now an All-Star. Michael Tucker's still doing a good job for the Cincinnati Reds.
Jermaine Dye reaches the break at 319 with 22 home runs. Of course, there are 37 players in baseball now with 20 or more home runs at the midway point. 2-2. There are 11 hitting 350 or better. And as I mentioned earlier, 46 with 60 or more RBIs. The 2-2 pitch. Struck him out. Glavine comes in, works a perfect fit. Halfway through, 3-1 Americans.
The way the game should be played, the way it used to be played, when it was smash mouth, hard contact type football. No fair catches means the most exciting football you've ever seen. The quarterback in the XFL is not protected. He's not afraid to be hit. The XFL quarterbacks won't be wearing panties.
Back in Atlanta at the All-Star game, the American League leading the Nationals 3-1 in no small part because of the efforts of Derek Jeter. 3 for 3, 2 RBI, 1 run scored. Are you going to mop the floors in the dugout when we're done here too?
No, I don't think so. It's great to be here and have the opportunity to play in the All-Star game. You look at all the great shortstops in this league. You don't take it for granted. You don't know if you're ever going to get a chance to come back, let alone start.
What's the best part about coming here and playing in these things? I mean, this has become routine for you now.
Well, I don't know if it's routine. I mean, there's so many great players, and I feel like a little kid when I get a chance to come because you sort of stargaze and see all these great players on the same field at the same time.
The Yankees have had so many great seasons over the last 4 years. However, this year you guys actually do look mortal. Can you give us some kind of explanation as to why perhaps the Yankees aren't as invulnerable and bulletproof as you have been in the past?
To tell you the truth, I mean, winning is not easy. We've made it look kind of easy 3 out of the last 4 years, but it's very difficult. We're playing a tough division. Boston and Toronto are giving us a great race this year, but we haven't been playing our best baseball, and we're still tied for first. So hopefully, better things will come.
In the pregame show, we saw a little bit feature of you and Garciaparra and A-Rod, and we saw that your batting, you imitated Garciaparra's batting stance. It looks like he's going to do the same to you. We saw him practicing in the dugout.
Well, I don't know. I tried his last year and I struck out, and I told him he doesn't have any problems with his own, so I think he should stick with his own stance.
All right, Derek, thanks very much for joining us. Nice night. Bob, back to you.
Jimmy, thanks. Jason Isringhausen, former Met, now the A's closer, is the new American League pitcher. This is Gary Sheffield's first at-bat of the night. Wig-wagging that bat in distinctive fashion, fouling it off. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Trying to keep track of the changes. Nomar Garciaparra is the new shortstop. Ray Durham of the White Sox, the new second baseman. The White Sox, Maglio Ordonez is in right field. Darren Erstad, that's Durham at second base. And Darren Erstad of the Angels is in left field. Full count.
Bobby, they took Jeter out. He had 3 base hits. The record for hits in an All-Star game is 4. Joe Medwick, Ted Williams, and Carl Yastrzemski all had 4 base hits in an All-Star game.
Three-two pitch. Fouled away. Well, I remember the days when Willie Mays or Roberto Clemente would play the entire game. You couldn't get Willie out of there. If it went 12 innings, you wanted to play all 12. Now the idea for the most part is to give everybody a chance if at all possible. And Isringhausen walks Sheffield to start the National League fifth.
Bob, I had a conversation with Willie Mays a couple of years ago, and I asked him what did he miss most about the game, and he said the All-Star game. He said that was his time to shine for the people in the American League who didn't get a chance to see him every year, every day.
Well, with interleague play now, and so many games on television, cable and over the air, so many highlight shows, there's almost no such thing as a seldom seen star.
Unless you play in Montreal and you're Jose Vidro or
Vladimir Guerrero.
Jim Edmonds
going high tech, documenting his second All-Star appearance. Larkin has popped out twice. Isringhausen misses way high. Well, you think about this. You go over to most people's houses and they show you their home movies. They're romping at the beach in bad bathing suits on vacation. At least Edmonds has home movies from the All-Star game.
Well, thank goodness for years ago they took those movies and we had those series when it was a game. We were able to see Mickey Mantle and some of the players of yesteryear play in All-Star games and play before ball games.
And when you saw color footage of Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, which we previously didn't think existed, it was stunning. Two and one to Barry Larkin. And the count evens at 2-2. Sheffield, who walked, is at first with nobody out. Larkin is the tying run at the plate. He's hit 8 home runs this year. Chipper Jones, who's 2 for 2 with a homer, will be next. And the count is full.
But if you're in the National League, this may be an opportunity for you to do something here. Barry Larkin really uses the bat well. Gary Sheffield runs well. And you're down, you may be able to get something started here.
He goes, and Larkin lifts it wide of first.
God damn.
And it's Rodriguez who comes over to make the catch. The first baseman Delgado had a crack at it, but Rodriguez, the Gold Glove catcher, snared it.
Normally you want the guy with the soft glove to make the catch, but Rodriguez handles his catching glove so well it's an easy play for him. There you see Delgado come into the play, but Rodriguez outreaches him. Nice play there by Ivan Rodriguez. I like the fact that they did try to hit and run there. Try to get something started. You're down 3-1. Let's make something happen.
And he's going on the first pitch to Chipper Jones, which is fouled off. The play you saw a moment ago by Ivan Rodriguez, further evidence, if any was needed, as to why he's won 8 Gold Gloves. And he's still a couple of years shy of his 30th birthday.
I don't think that was a hit and run there. I thought Gary Sheffield just got a great jump on Isringhausen and just took off. And Chipper Jones found the pitch he thought he could hammer, and he swung at it. That play didn't develop like a hit and run.
Not going this time, and a called strike 2. The managers tonight have seen their own guys do well. Galarraga was 1 for 2 for Bobby Cox while he was in there. Joe Torre has seen Derek Jeter get 3 hits, knock in 2 and score 1. And Chipper Jones has a single, now a second single plus a homer. So he, like Jeter, 3 for 3.
A breaking ball from Isringhausen. This allows Chipper Jones to be able to pull it to the right side with the hole open over there. You see Delgado holding Sheffield at first base. That opened up the hole there, and he got the breaking ball and he pulled it in the hole.
So Sheffield at second, Chipper Jones at first with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th, and Andrew Jones for his first at bat. He's hitting .312 with 23 home runs. Ball 1.
And it seems like Andrew Jones been around forever, Bob, because we saw him at a early age hitting home runs in the World Series, and he has continued to improve every year.
He's only 23. Line drive, base hit. Here comes Sheffield. That'll make it 3-2. Chipper Jones stops at second.
Looked like a hanging breaking ball again from Isenhausen, and he lines it into center field for a base hit. Yeah, that's what it is, a hanging breaking ball. And he lines it back in the center field, and he gets an RBI and brings the National League 1 run closer.
Atlanta hitters 5 for 6 in this game. Chipper Jones 3 for 3. Andrew Jones 1 for 1. Galarraga was 1 for 2. Here's Sosa. Struck out, popped out. Met said Edgardo Alfonso is on deck. The former Met Isringhausen in a 5th inning jam. Big cut and a miss.
Good high fastball there from Isringhausen. If you've got a good fastball, I still think the good high fastball is still the toughest pitch to hit. That was 97 miles an hour on the fastball, so that's very difficult to hit if it's upstairs.
Here's the 1-1. Hit in the air to deep right field. It's dying out there. And that'll be the second out.
He must have got that ball off the end of the bat.
Yeah, because the crowd.
Well, not just the crowd, the sound was good. It sounded like he hit it well, but listen to this sound.
But you know what? Sammy didn't do that little jump coming out of the box. So he knew that Maglio Ordonez from the crosstown White Sox was going to have no problem with it. Chipper Jones tagged and moved from second to third. Runners at the corners with 2 out. And here's Alfonso hitting .318. You look at these second basemen. Alfonso, Jeff Kent, Jose Vidro. Even a guy like Luis Castillo from the Marlins, who didn't make the team, and he's batting .369. You used to be the only guy who could hit 300 and pop 25 homers in a season and play Gold Glove second base.
These guys are all bigger than I was. I mean, there's Jeff Kent. I mean, he's leading the league in RBIs. Look at that. Jose Vidro is the one that I'm most impressed with. This guy, according to Felipe Alou, has unlimited potential like Vladimir Guerrero, and because he plays in Montreal, no one knows who he is.
.2-0 pitch, way outside. It wasn't that long ago. If you could turn the double play, handle the bat a little bit, bat .265, .270, you could play second base for pennant-winning teams.
And you were a star.
And seasons like those you had in the mid-70s or Ryne Sandberg put together for a whole career were a rarity for a second baseman. Now it's becoming nearly commonplace. Another cut on a 3-0 pitch, fouled off.
Bob, there's no doubt in my mind that because the players today are bigger and stronger, that you are going to see a lot of second basemen and the middle infielders put up some big numbers. Alex Rodriguez, 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. I mean, he's the first infielder to ever do that. So you have the potential with these young guys being bigger and stronger to be able to put up some great numbers.
Isringhausen trying to protect what is now a 1-run lead, and his 3-1 pitch is popped up, Delgado in foul ground, right by the railing to take it. So the National League pushes a run across, and after 5, the Americans lead it 3-2. As we look toward the Olympics in Sydney, 4 years ago, Turner Field was Centennial Olympic Stadium, site of the '96 games, and site of the 71st All-Star game tonight, with the American League leading it 3-2 as we move to the 6th. Changes galore. The new third baseman is Jeff Cirillo from the Colorado Rockies. The new shortstop is the Cardinals' Edgar Renteria, who was added when Mark McGwire was scratched. In right field, replacing Sammy Sosa, who's done for the night, is the former Indian, now Pirate, Brian Giles. And the new pitcher is the Cardinals' Darryl Kyle, who has a record of 11-5. And here's the Angels' Troy Glaus. Tapping it foul. Speaking of the Olympics, Glaus was on the '96 U.S. Olympic team and hit 4 home runs over at Fulton County Stadium, where the Olympic baseball games were played in '96 as the U.S. team took bronze here in Atlanta. A ball and a strike. Rolled towards short. Quick chance for Renteria, just into the game, and he throws Glaus out. And we throw it over to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you, Bob. A man who's in his own dugout had a home run in his own ballpark. What kind of a thrill was that in an All-Star game, Chipper?
It's unbelievable. You know, any All-Star home run is very exciting, but to do it here in a home ballpark, it's doubly special.
You said before we came on, it's as great a thrill as that of a World Series?
Well, I only got 1 home run in the World Series, and that was off the Yankees, and their whole team could be here representing the American League anyway, so it's the same thing. They're both pretty comparable.
Chipper, let me ask you, you guys have sustained an excellence for an awful long time, particularly throughout the regular season the past decade. How have you guys been so resilient with all of the changes that have gone on throughout baseball?
You just got to give a lot of credit to the front office, to the players that we brought in for fitting in right away, to continue the excellence that we've had, not to mention the core of players that have been here all along, the Glavins, the Smoltzes, the Maddoxes, the young guys coming up, myself, Klesko, Andrew Jones. I mean, we got something special working. We don't ever want it to end.
All right, Chipper, congratulations tonight. Look forward to seeing you in the second half of the season.
Thank you.
All right, Bob, back upstairs to you.
All right, Jim and Chipper, our thanks to you. 2 balls and a strike to Carlos Delgado from the Toronto Blue Jays. That one misses 3-1.
Bob,
what has Delgado done this season, you ask? Oh, merely hit .363 and lead the American League with 28 home runs.
And he's another special player that plays in Canada that doesn't get all the accolades that he deserves.
He pokes that one the opposite way in foul ground, and there's no play. Except for the fans chasing after the souvenir.
Look at those numbers. 2 guys that play in Canada. Carlos Delgado, not only does he have all those great numbers, but he's also the leader of that ball club. He's the captain of the team. I mean, he is just a leader. He's a young guy that came up through the organization and has just been a great player for them.
Bounced foul. This takes nothing away from the great performances of the great athletes in this game. But baseball has always been a sport where it was possible to compare the great players from era to era. It's always safest to compare guys to their contemporaries, but you could make educated guesses over the decades. I really don't think that's possible anymore. I think it's not just apples and oranges, it's apples and grapefruits. Starting around 1994, what's taken place in baseball might as well have occurred on another planet. From the early 40s to the early 90s, a period of 50 years, 3 guys slugged 700 for a season, and their names were Musial, Mantle, and Williams, and they each did it once. In fact, from 1958 through 1993, it was never done. That's out of play. Since 1994, there have been 6 seasons where someone has slugged 700, 6 individual performances. This year, 5 guys are slugging 700 or more at the break. 2 more are above 690. And as a frame of reference, 690 was Babe Ruth's lifetime slugging percentage. Speaking of slugging, this one is whacked to right, off the wall on the fly. Delgado sprints for second.
And one thing I wanted to point out, he hits the ball so hard. The ball even sounds different coming off of his bat. I mean, that's a pretty good pitch there from Kyle down and away, and he just rips it. The only reason it didn't go out, he didn't get it high enough, and he still only missed about 2 feet. Let's listen to this sound. He thinks it's gone, but it's not high enough. He knew he hit it hard enough to get it out. He just didn't get it high enough.
Here's the White Sox fine leadoff man, Ray Durham. First pitch swinging, lifts a pop-up. Cirillo in foul ground. That's the second out. Well, let's see what Nomar Garciaparra could do after Derek Jeter went 3 for 3. He said he might imitate Jeter's stance and mannerisms in the box. Let's see if he does.
I don't know if he can change his style. Look, he kicks, he grabs at his gloves, he kicks his toes. Jeter doesn't do any of this.
No, this is a Jeter imitation. At least a modified attempt, and a line drive to left, taken out there by Sheffield.
Well, he thinks it's 2 outs. And he's right. Everybody else is going back. I'm looking at Delgado, and I'm looking at Delgado run back to second base.
Well, it's the All-Star game. A few folks' heads are elsewhere. Matt Lawton of the Twins is in center field now. Bernie Williams out. Juan Rodriguez is done for the night, and Jorge Posada of the Yankees is the new catcher. And the Red Sox 6'6" right-hander Derek Lowe will pitch the bottom half of the 6th. The first man he faces is the National League's leading hitter, the Rockies' Todd Helton, who lines it sharply at Garciaparra. Now, as a public service, let us split screen the batting stances and styles of Derek Jeter and Nomar Garciaparra, and I withdraw my earlier comment.
I'm glad you're withdrawing him, Bob, because we'll see 2 different styles here. You see Jeter, a lot of bat movement at the top. Garciaparra, a lot of bat movement before he starts. And once he gets set, he's pretty still back there compared to Jeter. But they both look very good in swinging the bat. They both hit a line drive. Garciaparra's was caught, but Jeter had 3 base hits while he was in there.
Mike Lieberthoff from the Phillies, hitting .301 with 13 homers thrown in, takes a strike. A little pop. Troy Glaus with the easy chance. Tonight, following the All-Star game and your late local news, it's the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Jay's guests tonight include Richard Simmons. That's the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, following your late local news on NBC.
Speaking of late shows, I've been watching you. You've been every place lately. Come and turn on my television. You're on some show.
Some of those are repeats. I can't do anything about it.
Okay.
They just pull them off the shelf.
Well, tell them.
I have no say-so.
Well, tell them to put repeat on it so I won't watch them.
Nobody's frozen the remote in your hand. Here's Brian Giles, who's hitting .317. A bouncer. Garciaparra can't come up with it. Well, Larkin made an error at shortstop earlier for the National League, and it looks like this one is E6 for Nomar.
Well, Nomar gets there in plenty of time. He reaches out with one hand, hits him on the heel of his glove. He definitely got there in time. See right there off the heel of his glove.
So each team has now been charged with an error. 3 runs on 6 hits for the American League, 2 7-1 for the National. Here's Sheffield, who walked his first time. He takes strike 1 from Derek Lowe, whose record is 2-3, but the important stat is the saves, and he's closed 19 Boston victories. A big chopper, another chance for Nomar. He heads it to Delgado to take care of Sheffield. Through 6 in Atlanta. Still 3-2 American League. We're back after these words from your local station. You're watching the 2000 All-Star Game on NBC. Steve Finley of the National League West leading Arizona Diamondbacks is the new left fielder replacing Gary Sheffield. Matt Lawton of the Twins will start it here. And he slices it foul.
Bob, I think this is another one of those good feeling stories about Matt Lawton. He got hit in the jaw last year. He was out for a while. When he came back, he said he was still afraid in the batter's box. Now here he is in the All-Star game, so he overcame the fears of being hit in the face with a fastball. That's tough to do.
And at age 28, he makes his first All-Star game appearance. Comes in batting .330. Kyle's ahead of him 0-2, and he laces it foul. Top half of the 7th. 3-2 American League.
In fact, he was one of those parade of players they were talking about trading for when the Yankees were looking for a left fielder.
The Yankees considered a whole slew of alternatives.
They had a lineup, didn't they?
Before acquiring David Justice. 2-2.
I think everyone was rumored to go there except me and you.
You might still be able to help.
No.
Kyle knocks it down, stays with it, throws Lawton out. And we go to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. I'm here with Barry Larkin of the shortstop over from the Cincinnati Reds, and Barry was telling us, you know, it's very competitive. You guys don't treat this like an exhibition. You really want to win, don't you?
Well, you know, it is an exhibition game, obviously, but everybody wants to come out here and win. You know, the first thing that Bobby Cox said to us was, have fun, but let's win, you know. So there was definitely, you know, he was just trying to show everybody, listen, we're going to have a good time out here, but the idea is to win, and we definitely want to win tonight.
Now, the Reds have been disappointing so far this season, some inconsistent play. Do you guys have enough time to turn things around? Are you going to need another spring training, or is this season gone?
Well, you know, I don't think it's gone by any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, they've been juggling some things around in Cincinnati as far as the starting rotation, trying some different guys there. Maybe they found a couple guys in Elmer DeSens and Scott Williamson. Hopefully they'll let them go out there and do their jobs. And, you know, all we got to do is just play. We have absolutely nothing to lose now. I don't think things get much worse in Cincinnati as far as us going out and performing. And, you know, so I think the prospects are good for us.
Why has it gone so badly? The expectations were so high.
Well, I think that's exactly it. The expectations were extremely high and probably lofty. But, you know, you bring in Dante Bichette and Junior, and, you know, hey, everybody, you know, we're supposed to score 20 runs a game. That just hasn't happened for us, and you know, I think we were kicked back a couple notches, but I think we're coming now.
Very good luck in the second half of the season.
Thank you, man.
Our postseason colleague, he doesn't want to be with us again. Bob?
All right, Jim, thanks very much. That second half will begin for the Reds with Cincinnati a game under 500 and 8 games back of the Cardinals in the Central. Not insurmountable, but tough.
Bob, I was laughing at what Bobby Cox told him, to have fun but win. My first All-Star game, Chubb Feeney came in and said, you're not here to have fun, you're here to win. So a little opposite pep talk. I think that's the way Bobby Cox manages. He wants you to enjoy the game, to go out and win. I think that's the way he manages the Braves day in and day out.
The 3-2 pitch to the White Sox, Maglio Ordonez, and the count holds. Ordonez is making his second consecutive All-Star appearance. He is hitting .330 for the year. And it's still 3-2.
Bob, you told the people at home to stop scoring. I think I stopped somewhere along the line. I'm lost here.
Well, Ordonez at the plate. Erstad on deck. Posada to follow if the inning is prolonged. Checked his swing but made contact. Still 3-2. With the All-Star game here in Atlanta, interesting to note that in the last 9 months They played the World Series in this town, the Super Bowl, and now the All-Star game, and just 4 years removed from the Summer Olympics, so it's been something of a sports mecca. Another 3-2 pitch. And a drive toward right center field with Andrew Jones in pursuit, but he won't get there. It splits them and goes to the wall. Ordonez on his way to second with a one-out double.
This is what I like about the Chicago White Sox young hitters. Ordonez, Lee, Singleton. All of these guys look like they've been hitting forever. Look at this. Pitches away, doesn't try to pull it. He just slams it the other way. They all go with the pitch so well. And that ball is right in the gap.
The White Sox with baseball's best record, 23 games over 500, and most importantly 10.5 in front of the heavily favored Indians in the Central. The Indians have had a lock on that Central Division title for the better part of a decade. Usually by this time of the year they're making plans for their postseason rotation. Now they got to figure out how to make up 10.5 lengths once the season resumes. Here's Darren Erstad, who leads the majors with 144 hits and actually is on pace to possibly break George Sisler's record. Bouncing ball to short. Renteria takes it. Ordonez moves up from second to third. That's the second out. George Sisler back in 1920 for the St. Louis Browns had 257 hits in a 154 game season. Darren Erstad, who is batting .384 at the midway mark, has a chance to break that record, which has stood for 80 years. Now here's Posada, an all-star in his first season as the full-time Yankee catcher, with Joe Girardi having left for the Cubs.
And he has responded very well to being the everyday catcher. Joe Girardi was the guy that caught some of the veteran pitchers on the staff. Now he's the everyday catcher, and he's responded very well. And he has a good rapport with all the pitchers on the Yankee staff.
Joe Girardi, a late all-star addition, looking on as his former teammate. Sees the count go to 1-1. Ordonez is at third with 2 out. We're in the top of the 7th. The American League leads it 3-2. Sliced down to third base, scooped up there. And the throw across the diamond retires Posada. Jeff Cirillo making the play. Stretch time in Atlanta. Home team down by 1. And now let's take a look at the Coors Light game recap. This is in the 3rd with the National League trailing 1-0, and Chipper Jones goes the opposite way and just clears the wall in left center to tie the game at 1. But not for long. In the top half of the 4th, Derek Jeter, who was 3 for 3 while he was in there, singles home 2. The American League takes a 3-1 lead. The National League got a run on the 5th to make it 3-2, and that's where we stand now. Meanwhile, Joe, you were looking with dismay at your own scorecard. You've got company. Listen to Joe Torre.
Well, just like my book report. When I used to be in school, this is what my homework looked like.
So I don't feel so badly now.
There aren't that many more people to keep track of. He's used all of his position players except Tony Batista, the infielder from Toronto, and Edgar Martinez, who really can't play the field and can only be used as a pinch hitter. His only remaining pitchers, now that Todd Jones takes the mound, the Tiger right-hander, the only remaining pitchers, there's Batista, for Joe Torre, are the left-hander from the Indians, Chuck Finley, who he's going to hold out in case the game goes to extra innings, and Tim Hudson and his own closer Mariano Rivera. Edgar Renteria from the Cardinals fouls it off. Fred McGriff, the Tampa Bay Devil Ray representative and a former Atlanta Brave who's still a favorite here, got a nice ovation when the American Leaguers were introduced, is the new first baseman now here in the 7th, and Todd Jones is the pitcher. Jones 24 saves, leads the American League, and that for a team not doing all that well in the standings. So every time he gets a chance, he closes it just about. Ray Durham with the flip to McGriff for the out. Let's listen in once again on Joe Torre.
I'm going to use them all. Yeah, I'm going to use them all. We get a tie game, I'm going to run for the hills.
Well, he wants to give everybody a chance to play, and the strategy comes second, a distant second. Chipper Jones was 3 for 3 with a pair of singles and a homer while he was in there. Now here's the Rockies' Jeff Cirillo, batting .330 for the year, and proof, if any, is needed of how much hitters love Coors Field. He's hitting .447 at home and .226 on the road. If you took Mays, Aaron, a healthy Mickey Mantle in their primes, let them play a season in this era in Colorado, what kind of numbers you think you'd be looking at then? 3-0. And that one's in there. This is a homecoming for Todd Jones on the hill now for the American League. He's from Marietta, Georgia. He has 45 tickets for tonight's game, passed out to family and friends. Hopped wide of first. Here's McGriff over near the tarp for the catch. Saturday at 4 Eastern, the WNBA on NBC continues with a battle of USA Olympians as Dawn Staley and the Charlotte Sting take on Shamiqua Holtzclaw and the Washington Mystics. That's the Sting versus the Mystics Saturday at 4 Eastern on NBC. Andrew Jones, an RBI hit in his only at bat. Todd Jones working out of the stretch and a called strike.
Bob, I was talking to Reggie Jackson one day. I said, you know, Reggie, you worked hard for your 500 home runs, didn't you? He said, yeah, I paid with it for 2,500 plus strikeouts. And I asked him a question. I said, well, what do you think Willie Mays would do? He said, well, I also think that the balls are go a little farther. I won't say juice. Most of the parks are smaller, but you know, the players today are bigger and stronger than before.
The ball may be juiced and some of the players may be juiced. Luckily no one on base as that one goes to the backstop.
Well, let's take a look at this fastball that gets away from Jones. Todd Jones throws it over the head of Posada and Andrew Jones.
Two balls and two strikes. Two out and nobody on. Bottom of the seventh and the 2-2 pitch. Full count. Just to back up your point about Willie Mays, home runs overall in baseball, not just talking about what the Stars do, the overall home runs per game in baseball are around 50% higher than they were during the bulk of Willie Mays' career. So you can't make these direct one-to-one comparisons without considering the context. And Andrew Jones goes down swinging on some real good heat from Todd Jones. Seven complete. The American League clings to that 3-2 lead.
2000 Major League Baseball All-Star Game is brought to you by Lexus and our relentless pursuit of perfection. By Zocor. Talk to your doctor about Zocor today. By IBM. Are you ready for e-business? And by McDonald's. We love to see you smile.
The pitcher spot comes up third in this inning. Joe Torre, determined to get everybody in, has already told Tony Batista that he's going to pinch hit sometime in this inning. Listen to Joe.
Batista's going to hit for you.
Oh, right now?
Yeah. I hope I'm not sorry about this, because this is the last player I have.
Well, Joe is really taking a big chance here because he's going to have him hit for Gloss. That means that Batista will play third, and he will not have any position players left other than Edgar Martinez, who may be able to play someplace. But this is a big chance in a 3-2 ball game, because if you tie the game and it goes extra innings, then he would be out of position players technically.
So here's Fred McGriff, who's playing first base at this stage of the game, against Bob Wickman, who has 13 saves for the Brewers. The former Yankee makes his first All-Star appearance at age 31. Former starter, converted to a closer a couple of years ago. So Batista on deck to back for Gloss, and he'll stay in the game and play third.
Right.
Edgar Martinez may not even own a glove. It's been so long since he played in the field for the Mariners. They could get him in as a pinch hitter, and then Joe would be out of players. A little pop. Renteria over along with Cirillo, and it's Cirillo who nearly loses his footing. In fact, he does, but he makes the catch.
Nice play by Cirillo. See, he wants to know where's the wall. He finds the wall, and then he has to reach back. But he keeps his eyes on the ball, and he makes a nice catch.
So here's Tony Batista, added to the team when Alex Rodriguez was hurt. Look at that extreme stance, although he closes it back up as the pitch is delivered.
And the reason a lot of players open their stance so they can face the pitcher with their eyes. So he's got his entire face pointing toward the pitcher, and that's what he wants. Be able to look with both eyes. You get a lot of hitters who turn sideways and they're actually looking at an angle and not using both of their eyes to pick up the ball.
But Batista really takes it to an extreme. Two balls and a strike. Remember the old Tigers second baseman Dick McAuliffe used to hit out of a very open stance from the left side. But Batista is almost directly facing Wickman. 2-2. Again, let's listen to Joe Torre.
He's facing the wrong way.
In foul ground, no play. You can really tell that Joe was very tense during this All-Star game. If this thing winds up going extra innings,
he will get tense. I'll tell you. And really, he's taking a big chance because it's only a one-run ball game.
and Batista goes down swinging. Watching Batista, can't help but think back to when we were kids. Used to like to imitate guys' stances. Willie Stargell pinwheeling the bat, Wes Covington holding it flat. There is nobody who could possibly be confused with Batista. When kids in the schoolyard say, who am I now? It has to be only Batista if they set up that way. Let's go to Jimmy Roberts.
Bob, there's local and then there's local. Todd Jones, you told me it took you 12 minutes to get here from your hometown of Marietta, Georgia. How many tickets did you need for this game?
I had to leave 45, and it was the best money I ever spent. It's just so, I'm so lucky to have a chance to do this in my first All-Star game in Atlanta in front of my family, and just to represent the Tigers means a lot to me, and I'm just so happy to be here.
Did you get a chance to talk to Dale Murphy, who undoubtedly you must have seen as a youngster growing up?
I absolutely did yesterday. Had a chance to go up to him and got my picture taken with him, got a ball signed from him, and you know, I used to tell him, Horner Chandler Murphy, grew up watching you and always wanted to be like you, but I got to pitch instead.
3 up and 3 down for Todd Jones. Some kids never grow up. Bob, back to you.
All right, Jimmy, thanks very much. Edgar Martinez, the last guy off the bench other than pitchers for Joe Torre, hit it right on the nose, but Andrew Jones took it. We go to the bottom of the 8th, and it's still 3-2. Flying high above Turner Field, the Bud 1 airship with these live shots 1,000 feet above Atlanta. This Bud's for you. Tony Batista stays in the game. He plays third base. Tim Hudson from the Oakland A's, who is 21-4 over the last year and a half and 10-2 this year, comes on to work the 8th. Joe Torre is saving his own closer, Mariano Rivera. He hopes to close it in the 9th, and he's got Chuck Finley in case the game goes to extra innings. This is Jose Vidro from the Expos to pinch hit. Vidro went to Puerto Rico to play winter ball this past year and work on his fielding. Apparently his hitting doesn't need much work. Second in the National League at .375.
And he's a switch hitter. He hits from both sides, swings the bat well, has power.
In a shallow center field, Garcia Parra back with Durham, and it's Nomar who makes the catch. Bobby Cox fiddling with his own lineup. Let's listen in from the National League dugout.
No. If Lieberthal hits, he'll pick him up, okay? But he's our last pinch hitter, too. You know?
The he is Joe Girardi, who was the last position player who hasn't gotten into this game for either team, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the Mets Edgardo Alfonzo. Ball 1 high. And that one's in there. As far as the pitchers go, Cox still hasn't used Ryan Dempster from Florida, Shane Reynolds from the Astros, or Trevor Hoffman, whom he would like to close with if he could ever get a lead. And there is Hoffman of the Padres. Two balls and 2 strikes.
I think we're at the point where Joe Torre is not going to try to manage anymore. He's only hoping now that he can get through, because he doesn't have any moves left to make. He just hopes that Hudson can get him to the 9th with a lead, and he can bring in Rivera.
And Hudson fans Alfonzo. Hudson is in just his 2nd season in the major leagues. He's 24. He'll turn 25 in a few days. He obviously has a world of ability. Sometimes rubs opponents the wrong way. He's very deliberate on the mound, and occasionally he'll stare an opponent down after he gets a big out.
Well, he gets him out with a changeup. He's got a good changeup, and players really get upset when a pitcher changes up on him when they say they think he should be throwing a fastball.
The 0-1 pitch to Todd Helton. who was over 400 a good portion of the season's first half. In fact, he hit .512 in the month of May.
I know Colorado's a great place to hit, but you still have to swing the bat well to hit 400. There's a changeup again from Hudson.
Well, he's hitting .383 right now to lead the league, and he does hit well on the road, .320. But at home, .459. Look at this home slugging percentage. .896. That's almost comical. Although Helton doesn't seem particularly amused at the moment.
Well, 2 balls, 2 strikes. He's seen 3 straight changeups from Tim Hudson.
Nobody on, 2 out on the 2-2 pitch. Ray Durham should handle it. A 1-2-3 last of the 8th. It's been 3-2 since the 5th. On to the 9th in Atlanta.
The 2000 Major League Baseball All-Star Game is brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere you want to be. By Applebee's. Enjoy their stuffed chicken Santa Fe, as unique as the Southwest, as American as Applebee's. By Agilent Technologies, dreams made real. And by Samsung. Wireless, digital, Samsung. Everyone's invited.
You guys can score another run or two, be all right.
Mariano's on the 9?
Yeah.
What's the matter?
Joe Torre tells his guys in the dugout, if you want to score another run or two, that'll be all right. Darren Erstad comes up and says, you're bringing in Mariano, aren't you? We're okay. We're cool. 1 run will do.
But to this point, Joe Torre has managed a perfect all-star game, meaning that he has used all the players, and he also has a 3-2 lead, and he has Mariano Rivera up in the bullpen. So this is the perfect situation if you're Joe Torre. But you would still like to have another run or two.
Bobby Cox was a journeyman ball player during a brief career, never an all-star. His counterpart tonight, Joe Torre, a 9-time National League All-Star. And Joe, of course, a familiar face in Atlanta. He played for the Braves in the 60s and managed them in the 80s. And he and his Yankees brought heartache here in '96 and '99 in the World Series. 3 balls and a strike to Ray Durham. Durham's 0 for 1. He popped up in his only at bat. Line drive, base hit.
Well, we may see Joe Torre try to manufacture a run here to give himself the 2-run lead that he really wants. You may see Durham try to steal a base or even hit and run with Garcia Power at the plate.
A relaxed American League bench as Garcia Parra tries to help them tack on an insurance run or two. He's the major's leading hitter at .389. A big chopper that gets by Cirillo and into the outfield, and Durham scoots to third base.
Well, when you're hitting .390, there's a reason for that. You're a good hitter, but you also get some balls that find some holes for you. That's a chopper right in front of the plate that bounced over the head of Cirillo at third. Look at this. This ball hits right in front of the plate, but it takes a high hop over the head of Jeff Cirillo. He tries to corral it just to keep it from going to the outfield because he knows if it gets to the outfield, Durham will be able to go to third.
So here's the Twins' Matt Lawton. The National League infield comes in. Ball 1 high. fouled off. So this has been another year of the hitter in the major leagues, where scores in double digits don't raise eyebrows, but a low-scoring All-Star game. 3-2 in the ninth. Garciaparra at first, Durham at third, nobody out.
It's a good changeup from Hoffman. That is his weapon.
That's his specialty.
He started him off with a fastball. Now he comes with the change. You can see him with his fingers off the ball. That means he's choking it back in his hand, and that way he can use the same arm speed that he was using on the fastball.
Blocked by Lieberthal, no advance.
One of the things that you see here is that he's throwing a lot of changeups, which means there's a lot of space over here. But Vidro has to play close enough to the bag, so if the runner at first breaks, he can cover bag. You see, Renteria couldn't get there if the guy from first base steals, and there he goes.
And it's hit right through that hole. Garciaparra to third, Durham scores, and there's the insurance run Joe Torre was looking for, and they're still threatening first and third, nobody out.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. He's throwing a changeup, which means it gives the guy a chance to pull it. Look at all the hole over here on the right side. Vidro can't cover it, and the ball goes through for a base hit. So they had a perfect situation there. If you're the Yankees, I shouldn't say the Yankees, the American League, and Joe Torre. You have a big hole on the right, the guy throwing changeups, and it works out in your favor.
Bobby Cox, one of the best managers in recent Major League history, may be getting tired of looking at Joe Torre in the other dugout.
Well, especially with the wins that Joe Torre has been able to count against him.
He's lost 8 straight World Series games now to Joe. And on the short end in this All-Star game, 4-2 in the ninth on his home field. Here's the White Sox Maglio Ordonez. Infield is up once again. Ball one from Hoffman. Lawton, who singled home, the 4th run is at first. Garciaparra, who had a chopped single earlier, is at third. There goes Lawton, breaking for second. Lieberthal won't throw. He steals it standing up.
This is what I always liked about Joe Torre's managing. He puts pressure on the defense. He moves runners. He forces things to happen. And all he did right there is now he forces the infield where they have no chance. They have no place to go except to the plate. And that's not a force out anymore. They don't have a force at second.
In the air to deep center field. Andrew Jones turning to the track. Makes the catch. Garciaparra scores from third. Lawton moves up from second to third. And on the sacrifice fly, it's 5-2 Americans.
And I tell you, Joe Torre is feeling much better over there about the situation, because a 3-2 lead, he was in jeopardy of going extra innings, and he didn't have any players left.
That's it.
Well, he told him he needed a couple more runs, and they responded for him.
So now here's Darren Erstad again against a drawn-in infield. He's 0 for 1 on the night. A strike to the Angel outfielder, who was a place kicker and punter for the 1994 national champion Nebraska Cornhuskers. Lawton at third with 1 out. Bounce to second. There'll be no play as it's booted. Lawton scores. Jose Vidro just into the game, couldn't handle it.
Well, it was a tough play because he had to charge it all the way, and he got the in-between hop, and that's a very difficult play to make. When you're fielding a ball, you want it on the short hop or the big hop, and the dangerous hop is the in-between hop, and that's what he gets here. Watch this. He charges. Actually, the split second late, he charges. See, that's the in-between hop. You get it about a little above the knees. You want it as it's barely coming off the ground or at the top of its bounce.
A strike to Jorge Posada. So 3 runs across in the 9th. And lots of breathing room for the American League. 6-2. The attendance tonight, 51,323. The estimated economic impact of the All-Star game on the city of Atlanta is some $50 million. 0-2 pitch. Misses.
50 million, maybe I can talk him into having the next All-Star game in my house.
If you've got 50,000 plus seats in your backyard, perhaps you could make a case. And Posada strikes out. In this inning, Joe Torre has demonstrated once again that he's an American League manager with a National League style. And of course, during his career as a player and then as a manager with the Mets, the Braves, and the Cardinals, he was in the National League until coming to the Yankees.
And Bob, I think that type of managing is what jump-started the Yankees when he went back and took over, because they were a struggling ball club. He went back and played National League style baseball in the American League parks. And the Yankees still are not a power hitting ball club like most of the other contenders. They haven't had a guy hit over 30 home runs in each of the last 3 years when they've won the pennant. Won the World Championship 2 years out of those 3, I guess.
And these days, almost anybody hits 30 home runs.
Yes.
Strike 1 to McGriff, who's 0 for 1. Well, let's see how daring Torre wants to be in the bottom of the inning. If he wants to let Chuck Finley of the Indians face a hitter just to get him in the game and then let Rivera close it.
I don't think so. He's taking some chances. I don't think he's going to take that last one.
All the American Leaguers enjoying the scene in the 9th, apparently on their way to their 4th consecutive victory and 10th in the last 13 against the National League, which once dominated the American. 2-2. Torre told me before the game that Chuck Finley, who's a veteran and has been in the All-Star game before, understood that he might not pitch at all in the game, that Torre would hold him back since he's a starter, used to working long innings, use him in case the game went to extra innings. McGriff fans, but the American League pushes across 3 in the top half of the 9th, and they take a 6-2 lead to the bottom half. This aerial viewpoint is provided by Budweiser and the Bud One Airship, the crisp, clean, and refreshing taste of the king of beers, Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Technically, it's not a save situation with a 4-run lead. Mariano Rivera comes on. Meanwhile, in the National League bullpen, 2 guys who apparently won't get in, Shane Reynolds of the Astros and Ryan Dempster of the Marlins, toss anyway. Joe Girardi is the only position player, the only non-pitcher on either team not to get into the game. But Bobby Cox told us before the game that Girardi pretty much understood that he was here as insurance, as a 3rd catcher, just in case. Here is the National League's 2nd catcher, Mike Lieberthal, fouling the first one off. Lieberthal's 0 for 1 since replacing Jason Kendall behind the plate. And the game is delayed briefly. Someone has run out onto the field, and the security guards are taking care of that situation. And we will not humor the fool by showing him on camera. In the 37-year history of the All-Star MVP award, it hasn't existed throughout the history of the game itself, but they've been giving it out for 37 years. No Yankee has ever won it. Derek Jeter probably will tonight. His teammate Mariano Rivera trying to close it. He has 21 times in the season's first half for the Yankees.
That's a shock in itself, Bobby, because, I mean, DiMaggio, Mantle, Elston Howard, all the great players that they've had in these All-Star games. That's very surprising.
Here's the 1-1. And a bouncer over Rivera's head. Charging it is Garcia Parra, and he throws it away.
I think that'll be scored as a base hit and an error.
And that's what it is. A single E6.
Tough play for Garcia, and he throws on the run. And a lot of times when you're throwing on the run, trying to get something on the ball, you automatically throw it too high. But it's a very difficult play to make anyway.
Here's Brian Giles. Pirate outfielders 0 for 1. He never was a full-time player with the talent-rich Cleveland Indians. Never got as many as 400 at-bats in a season in Cleveland, although everyone knew he could hit, and he's proven that in Pittsburgh. Back to Rivera. Looks Lieberthal back to second, and the toss to McGriff for the first out.
And you can see why Rivera is so difficult to hit, both from the right side and the left side. That's a cut fastball he's throwing. Looks like a fastball out over the plate, and all of a sudden it's in on the hands of Giles. And we saw the same thing with Lieberthal. It looked like it was a fastball in the middle of the plate. It moves away, and he hits the top of it. Hits the chopper over the mound.
Here's Steve Finley for his first at-bat. The 35-year-old veteran has been in the All-Star game once before, hitting, as you see, an even 300 for the Diamondbacks. The D-backs are being pressed now just a bit by the resurgent Giants, who won 8 in a row just before the All-Star break. Cardinals beat them Sunday to snap the string. But Buck Showalter's team has only a 3.5 game lead now on Dusty Baker's Giants. 1-2. The Cardinals' Edgar Renteria is on deck. Still 1-2. Lieberthal at second with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th. And Rivera's 1-2 pitch to Finley. Up and in.
And you can see that ball just move in just at the last second on the left-handed hitter. And that's why he's so successful against both left-handers and right-handers. Left-handers really do not have an advantage. In fact, some people believe that a right-hander has a better chance to hit Mariano Rivera than a left-hander does.
Count holds at 2-2. Rivera is still acknowledged as the American League's best, but there have been times during the first half of the season when he was something less than invincible.
I think this goes for the whole Yankee team. I mean, they've set the bar so high that we just expect so much from them.
Finley laces one to center. Lieberthal being waved home. And it's a 6-3 game.
Mike.
Good job by Finley to hit that ball in the center field. Not exactly where Rivera wanted to throw it. This one's down. He wants it up and in. It's down. Look at that right there on the inside part of the plate. Good hitting there by Finley as he fights it off.
So with the help of an error by Garcia Parra, the National Leaguers touch Rivera for a run in the bottom of the 9th. Here's Renteria, who's 0 for 1, slicing one foul. Over the last 2 seasons, getting back to Rivera, he has been as close to perfect as a reliever could possibly be. First half of this season, his ERA is just under 3, his record 2-3, and he has 21 saves. Called strike, 0-2. Jeff Cirillo of the Rockies on deck. Way high. The National League a base runner away from bringing the tying run to the plate.
Anytime you go to the last inning down by 4 runs, that is your goal, to be able to bring the tying run to the plate.
Renteria bounces it to short. There's one. Durham turns it, and that's the ball game. Four in a row for the American League.
Well, they're on a roll. And, you know, it started about 6 or 7 years ago. They brought all the good young players into the league. They were bringing more young players into the American League at that time that had a chance to be superstars, and it's starting to show up a little bit.
The 2000 All-Star Chevy MVP is Derek Jeter. You see what he did before being replaced at shortstop by Nomar Garciaparra, and his friendly rival from the Red Sox started the game-ending 6-4-3 double play as the American League wins it 6-3. And we'll have the presentation of the MVP trophy when we come back to Turner Field in Atlanta after this.
Authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
He may not know it, but James Baldwin of the White Sox was the winning pitcher tonight. He was the pitcher of record when they assumed the lead, which they did not relinquish. We assume that by now Baldwin is winging it back to Chicago, where his wife is expecting any minute. Al Leiter of the Mets was the game's losing pitcher. Chipper Jones had the game's only home run in a losing cause for the National League. And these days, a game that's played in 2 hours and 56 minutes is considered fairly brisk, especially with all the changes made in an All-Star game. Let's go to Jim Gray for the official presentation of the MVP trophy.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. I'm now joined by the Commissioner of Baseball, Bud Selig, and tonight's MVP, Derek Jeter. Bud, make the presentation.
Thank you, Jim. Derek, on behalf of Major League Baseball, congratulations. 3 for 3 and a great night. And I'm told the first New York Yankee to ever win this award. So you've had a great career, and this is just another great moment. And congratulations, Derek.
Thanks a lot. It means a lot. I mean, you know, the shortstop position in the American League, you never know if you're going to get a chance to come to an All-Star game, let alone start one. So, you know, I'm just thankful I got an opportunity to play.
The first Yankee to win this award. When you think about all of the great players, DiMaggio, Mantle, and of course the MVP award wasn't always there during all of these All-Star games. What does that mean to you to be the first to accomplish this?
It's tough to believe. I mean, you look at all the Yankee greats, you know, over the years, you'd figure at least one of them would win an MVP award. But, you know, it's tough to win an MVP award because you get in there, you don't know how many at-bats you're going to get, you don't know what situation you're going to come in. So I was just in the right place at the right time.
And it's kind of funny. Had you started last year, you would have not started tonight.
I know, maybe so. So, you know, fortunately, the Boston fans voted for Nomar last year, and Mr. Torrey gave me an opportunity this year.
3 for 3. What is going on with you here in Atlanta? It seems as though you guys have a spell over the Braves and certainly over Bobby Cox. What is going on with you in this ballpark and in this area in general?
I don't necessarily know about that. You know, I had 2 previous All-Star bats, and I struck out both times. So I wanted to be aggressive, swing early in the count, and put the ball in play. Unfortunately, I found some holes.
Derek, now you guys haven't played your best baseball. You now go into the second half of the season. You're tied for the lead. Seems as though the schedule is in your favor. You guys now go home, I think, for 16 or 17 days. Can you guys put it together and reclaim what everybody feels you guys have established over the past couple of years?
Well, most definitely. I think you got to keep things in perspective. Winning is not easy, and we may have made it look easy 3 of the last 4 years, but it's very difficult to do. Every team's gunning for us, and we've played, you know, not up to our expectations yet. We're still tied for first place, and we've been playing good baseball the last couple of weeks, and hopefully it can carry over in the second half.
With everything that you've accomplished at such a young age, what else really is left for you other than to be a model of consistency for years to come?
Well, we want to win more championships. We're all trying to catch Yogi Berra. He's got his 10 rings, so I think that's what everyone's shooting for.
Derek, congratulations to you. Great game.
Appreciate it.
All right, let's send it over to Jimmy Roberts.
Jim, thanks very much. And Joe Torre, you have been extraordinarily successful in this stadium. I don't know what the vibe is, or did you have a good time in there tonight? We eavesdropped on you a little bit, and it sounded like you were having a good time.
I'm surrounded with a pretty good array of players and coaches, and of course my bench coach Don Zimmer is always entertaining. The only thing that's scary, Jimmy, in this kind of game, I wanted to get everybody in, but you know very well that you run out of players in the National League, and you're going to wind up having the pitcher hit for himself. But I was happy for those 3 runs in the ninth.
We heard you say that you were going to play all your players, and then if they scored, you were going to head for the hills. Is there a sense in a game like this that it truly is an exhibition and you can have some fun, as opposed to the types of all-star games that you used to play in, where it was much, much more serious business?
Well, yeah, we wanted to win maybe more than these guys do. I can't really say that. But, you know, they have friends on the other team. I'm not sure we had that many friends in the other league as they do now, because, you know, players just go from league to league a lot. It is an exhibition. I think everything leading up to the game, you know, at that time we used to show up on Monday night and play Tuesday afternoon and go on home. So you really didn't spend as much time with each other as they do now. And they certainly do enjoy the camaraderie.
With all of the great Yankees over all the years, isn't it remarkable that Derek Jeter becomes the very first to win the MVP award in this championship?
Well, Derek's only been in the big leagues for 5 years, but I know one thing: when you mention his name, you're going to think of Yankees. He's a very proud individual. I'm so happy that his parents were here to watch this, and I'm sure they're as proud as I am.
You got an opportunity to manage David Wells once again, which I'm sure is an opportunity you'd like to have during the regular season and in the playoffs again if it was possible. You have a special relationship with him?
I do. You know, we had an adversarial relationship for a time, but we talked it out and we argued it out, and we got to where we respect each other. In fact, all of a sudden, after 2 innings, I felt a wet kiss on my left cheek, and I looked over, and it was Wells saying goodbye and thanking me for allowing him to start. I have a great deal of respect for David, because during the last few years, he's turned into a guy with having a good arm to being a good pitcher, and he certainly you know, deserved this start, and I'm awfully happy for him.
Joe Torre, a warm response for you here in this city, despite the fact that you all haven't always been the best of guests. Bob, let's go back up to you.
Jimmy, thanks very much. A quick look back at some of what went on tonight, with the American League winning for the 4th consecutive time over the Nationals. They had a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the 3rd when Chipper Jones went to left center field off James Baldwin to tie it at 1. Top half of the next inning against Al Leiter of the Mets, Derek Jeter with the base hit that plates 2 and gives the American League a 3-1 lead. The Nationals cut it to 3-2. It stayed that way from the 5th to the 9th. But then the American League tacked on 3 insurance runs. The hit by Matt Lawton of the Twins was part of it. Maglio Ordonez then delivered a long sacrifice fly that plated Nomar Garciaparra. And this is the inning-ending and game-ending double play hit into by Edgar Renteria in the bottom of the 9th inning after the National League had pushed across a run of their own to make it 6-3. Garciaparra to Durham and on to McGriff to end the ball game. And there's the final accounting. And we'll be back to wrap things up from Atlanta right after this. Well, Ivan Rodriguez, the great catcher of the Texas Rangers, got more votes than any other All-Star in either league. Ken Griffey Jr. held that distinction for the last 4 years prior to this one. Pudge broke that streak, and he helped the American League win tonight. Here he is with Jimmy Roberts.
Bob, thanks very much. And Bob Costas makes the point that you have gotten more votes than anybody else. Is that meaningful to you?
Well, it's nice, you know. I just appreciate that for the fans, you know. And I came here and enjoy it, and the good thing that we win today, and I have fun, and I think my team have fun also.
To say that you are the prototypical catcher would be an understatement, because there are many who would like to be so much like you. But there has been some discussion that perhaps you would switch to an infield position, maybe second base. Is that in the plans for you?
No, I mean, I'm as long my knees and my legs stay strong, I'm going to be behind the plate. There's some comments that I'm going to change position, but, you know, I'm just talking that about 6-7 years from now, you know. But right now, I feel great, and my body feels great, and I'm going to be behind the plate.
As a young man growing up, what catcher did you look to as the one that you wanted to emulate?
Well, I like Johnny Bench. I got a chance to see Johnny Bench on TV, Lance Parrish, Carlton Fisk, all those guys, you know. I like the way they play, and I get the opportunity to see in TV in my house.
Interestingly enough, Joe Morgan, our color commentator up there, who, as you know, played with Johnny Bench, said during the game that you had an opportunity perhaps to be one of the best catchers ever. And as you know, he played with Johnny Bench. What's your reaction to that?
Well, that's nice, you know, from Joe. to say that. Just thank you very much, Joe. But for me, I just consider myself like another player. So I got to go in the field and do my 100% every day. And when I just say I'm not going to play no more, I just look my numbers and say I got a good career. But right now, I like to do good in the field every day and try to do my best in the field every night.
Well, you certainly are doing well in the field every day and certainly did your best tonight. Thanks so much for joining with us. Good luck the second half of the season. Joe, Bob, back up to you guys.
Jimmy and Pudge, thanks very much. Well, you and your National League mates never would have stood for this. 10 out of 13.
They've got to make some changes. They better get a little more serious next time.
Well, maybe next time McGuire and Griffey and Bonds and Piazza and Maddox will be healthy. That would have helped.
That would have helped. Definitely. That was a lot of firepower that was left off this All-Star team for the National League.
What do you look forward to second half of the season? Anything in particular?
Well, I look forward to the Cleveland Indians actually making a run at the Chicago White Sox because I think they need to be battle hardened, so to speak, if they're going to play in the playoffs, but I expect them to hold on.
And how about those Giants as we look at Barry Bonds making a move on the D-backs in the NL West?
The Giants are playing great right now, and they have a shot. I think the National League West and American League West are going to have some real races down the stretch.
Joe, good to be with you again.
Always great, Bobby.
See you in October, if not before. Once again, the final score from Atlanta, the American League 6 and the National League 3. Coming up next on most of these stations, it's your late local news. Then it's The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Among Jay's guests tonight, Richard Simmons. For Joe Morgan, Anna Storm, Jim Gray, and Jimmy Roberts, I'm Bob Costas. You've been watching the 2000 Baseball All-Star Game on NBC and from Turner Field in Atlanta. Good night, everybody.